New, exciting, and unforgettable experiences are waiting for you at the Great Passion Play in beautiful Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Witness the greatest story ever told, the final days of Jesus Christ's walk on earth. Your family and friends will be amazed at this majestic drama. From the exciting recreation of Jerusalem and the colorful spectacle of the marketplace, to the soul-stirring crucifixion and the electrifying scene of Christ's ascension, the cast of 250 and the state-of-the-art lighting, sound effects, and original music will keep you spellbound. For reservations, call now 1-800-882-7529. For an experience you will never forget, see the Great Passion Play in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. 1-800-882-7529.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Jen and this is Fundy Fridays, and here on my channel I talk about different aspects of Christian fundamentalism, pop culture, American conservative politics, gay stuff, and I guess the other thing that I do is wear graphic liner. Apparently. Once again, I set out to do a simple look and then this happened. But you know what? I'm going through a phase. Is that okay?
Do you think your eyes are a little too smoky for every day?
Yeah, I'm going through a phase. Is that okay with you?
And I did use all Trixie Cosmetics. Trixie and Juno palette, Just a Girl for blush, and Bauble and Baby Woman on the lips, in case you're wondering. And while we're at it, I'm not God's strongest warrior, but I am the cutest. And that is from INeedGod.com. How have you all been? I am doing amazing. James and I just got back from our honeymoon, which is what today's episode is about. We did all kinds of Christian stuff, and at some point I gotta wonder, at what point is it not ironic? At what point am I just a Christian? Yes, we did all kinds of religious stuff, and one of the things we did was visit the Christ of the Ozarks statue, which is at the same place as the Great Passion Play. I don't know what the whole complex is called, but we went there and it was just super enlightening and really fun and just totally appropriate for us. So today's episode definitely has a twist ending, so stick around. Last week, James and I went on our honeymoon, and we thought, what better place to celebrate our love, and more importantly, monetize every waking moment of our existence, than with a good old-fashioned road trip to southern Missouri / northwest Arkansas. And while I won't deny that my motives were a little bit ulterior, I mean, how often do you get within spitting distance of the Duggars and the Walmart test store? This is not really my area of Missouri. I'm from central Missouri, and the area that we went to, Branson and Eureka Springs and Bentonville, that is a little more southern than I'm used to, and it's also in the Ozark Mountains, which are fucking insane to drive on, by the way. But I've been trying to reclaim my trashy Missouri heritage recently, but it's been kind of hard to when I can't help but notice that there's racism and bigotry around every street corner. It was everywhere I went, including an antique store in a busy side of town in Eureka Springs that not only had a mammy display, but centered it around a vintage whites-only drinking fountain sign. And I didn't get a picture of that because my stomach turned and I literally stormed out of there. And don't get me wrong, I had tons of fun and made plenty of fellowship with James, but the whole thing was shrouded in a cloud of Christian nationalism that was hard to miss. It was in subtle things like the conversation between a grandma and her grandkids at the counter remarking, "The other day my grandson asked if Jesus was a girl and I almost had to call the pastor in for a meeting." Or the overt appropriation and disrespect for Jewish people time and time again that I keep seeing at these Christian attractions. But that wasn't the only side of the area I saw. There was also a loving sense of community between these people, and everywhere I turned there were pride flags, and I truly felt the love from everyone I interacted with. Which brings me to this documentary that I really want to talk about. It's called The Gospel of Eureka Springs, and it's really about this incredible battle for the soul of this town. So this documentary is not only about the Passion Play, but it's also about the thriving queer community of Eureka Springs. And I'm pretty sure that was actually Simone from season 13 of Drag Race. This is a really good documentary. You have to watch it.
Just because you're a Christian doesn't really have anything to do with who you're fucking. It has to do with who you're loving.
but it's also about the political tensions of the time. This was in 2016, 2017, and if you don't remember, Arkansas was really a pioneer of the anti-trans bathroom bills that have morphed into the monster that they are today. There's also this long interview with an old gay couple, and they talk about their relationship to Christianity and what happened to their loved ones during the AIDS crisis. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I will just recommend it again. It's called The Gospel of Eureka Springs, and I highly recommend that you watch it as a companion to today's episode. The area that James and I explored, Branson, Blue Eye, Eureka Springs, seemed deeply Christian to me. That makes sense because there was several religious attractions all within driving distance of each other, from Thorn Crown Chapel to the National Shrine of Mary, whatever the fuck this thing is, and Morningside, which is Jim Bakker's new compound, and yes, I did attend Sunday service there. There's a lot going on in this area that needs to be talked about, and honestly, it was such an eye-opening experience. Let's get into it. I will start off by talking about the only innocent person in this whole mess, and that would be Jesus. In the same complex as the Great Passion Play and the Holy Land Experience Tour is this comically huge and strangely proportioned statue of Jesus, which is called Jesus of the Ozarks, and it has the honor, I guess, of being the world's second largest Jesus statue behind Christ the Redeemer in Brazil. There's just something off about this one. Maybe it's the fact that he's steadfastly T-posing over the citizens of Eureka Springs, seemingly in order to assert dominance over Satan. According to Wikipedia, this statue was primarily the work of Emmett Sullivan, who also worked on nearby Dinosaur World. He had assisted in the work at Mount Rushmore as well. Hey, you know what? We're about to see just how racist this whole place is, so that makes sense that he worked on Mount Rushmore. The statue is modernistic and minimalistic. There is little facial detail or expression, and the lines and forms are generally simplified. The arms are outstretched, suggesting the crucifixion. However, the cross is not depicted. I also checked. There is no stigmata on this statue. It has been nicknamed Gumby Jesus and Our Milk Carton with Arms by critics. There was also a time recently where protesters hung up a God Loves Abortions banner across Jesus' arms.
Tonight, an activist group vandalizes the Christ of the Ozarks monument just outside of Eureka Springs, and it's creating quite a stir. Catherine Gilker from our Northwest Arkansas affiliate spoke to the group behind the vandalism, state leaders, and the monument's owners.
They trespassed on our property. They put themselves at risk when they were putting it up, and then they put our staff at risk when we were taking it down. And they tried to use our platform, our statue, as a platform for themselves.
The group In Decline claims responsibility and agreed to speak about the vandalism, though the member we interviewed did not want to reveal their name and kept their identity hidden.
We're full-time criminals. We do this for a living. We're extremely good at what we do. We spend a lot of time on recon. The last thing we're concerned about is a groundskeeper at a theme park for Jesus, bothering us while we're doing our work.
Thursday night, the renegade activist art collective In Decline scaled the almost 70 feet tall Christ of the Ozarks monument, draping a 50-foot banner across it. They shared these pictures showing how they did it. The banner they left behind read, "God bless abortions." In Decline members say they chose it because they believe religion plays a big role in abortion laws in Arkansas and southern states.
Particularly from that perspective of Jesus Christ, we felt that he would be incredibly offended by the idea of white privileged men essentially creating situations where women were going to die if they couldn't get access to abortion services.
This month, Arkansas's new abortion law goes into effect that bans all abortions except to save the life of the mother. Arkansas Senator Jason Rapert sponsored the bill and is calling the group out for committing an act of this nature.
Abortion is a crime against humanity, and it is really horrible that you have groups like this who support this level of death in our society today. So I hope that they're prosecuted.
Those with the Great Passion Play say they had a tree company remove the banner, which they plan to cut up and use as drop cloths for future projects. They say they also found cracks in the stucco monument from hanging the banner.
The people who hung the banner on the Christ of the Ozarks, I would like them to come and see Jesus hung upon the cross that's right behind me, because Jesus' mission was that of love, and people's lives matter.
The Great Passion Play says they plan on having more people survey the grounds in hopes that something like this never happens again.
In Eureka Springs, covering news where you live, Catherine Gilker, 5 News.
The Great Passion Play filed a police report with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. No word yet on if they'll press any charges.
A little bit more about the statue from the website. Every inch of the remarkable sculpture was built by hand. No poured segments were used in the statue's construction. At an altitude of 1,500 feet, the statue is made of 24 layers of white mortar on a steel frame and weighs over 2 million pounds. The foundation, which is virtually welded into the rock of the mountain, requires 340 tons of concrete interlaced with steel. During construction, the framework of the statue was completely surrounded by scaffolding. Workers had to build an elevator up to the side of the framework in order to reach the statue's higher segments. Taller than most humans, the hands from wrist to fingertip measure approximately 7 feet. The statue's arm spread from fingertip to fingertip spans 65 feet, and its overall height is 67 feet. When James and I went to visit, there was a segment of Bikers for Christ, I'm pretty sure, taking photos and having a good time. After James and I surrendered ourselves to Christ, we hit up the gift shop and bought some Christian trinkets and, of course, this mini version of the statue. I'm trying to get the focus to work. Yeah, look at that. This may be of no shock to you guys, but I love crap. I love trinkets. I love tchotchkes. I love little doodads, and this was just perfect. We also found out that Caruso, the Christian t-shirt company that made the famous Condiment Jesus pun t-shirts, is headquartered in the area. We also poked around the Bible Museum, which was truly offensive and once again was disrespectful to Jewish people. And because of that, I did not feel any guilt when I went behind the Holy Land exhibit and vaped there. But my personal favorite part of this entire experience was going to the small Christian art museum, which offers free tours all day. And I also picked up a piece of art that had this delightfully deranged smiling Jesus on it. And when I went to check out, the little old lady there said, "Oh, would you like me to sign it? I'm actually the artist." James and I were like, "Of course, please sign it." And she told us the story. She said, "I was tired of seeing sad pictures of Jesus." She said, "My Savior was happy. He's a joyous, happy guy." And she really did seem interested in just spreading her own infectious Christian joy to all the visitors. And I know that being white, cis, and married means that I'm always more likely to get positive reactions in these religious settings, but at least with this one woman, I like to believe that she really would be this accepting to other people. James and Jennifer, may the joy of the Lord fill your hearts as you serve him. In Christ, Barbara Bosher. And little does she know that this is going to go on my wall of blasphemy, but I like to think for that moment, everything was pure. And she said, "When I was growing up, the only way I thought of God was a stern judge that was hoping I would make a mistake so he could punish me. But when I met Christ at the age of 25, I realized how much I was loved, that God sent his only son to die for me. His desire is that I might have life and that more abundantly. What joy I have found in Christ. Now I see him smiling at me, encouraging me on. I wanted to paint a joyful Christ to encourage you also, that the joy of the Lord is your strength. I hope that this portrait of Joe Smith, who plays the role of Christ in the Great Passion Play, will be a blessing to you also." When researching this place, I of course found their YouTube, their Vimeo, their TikTok, which is actually got some pretty funny videos on it. On their YouTube, they were just hyping up this buffet.
Right before the Passion Play, you can eat dinner in our wonderful buffet restaurant, which features a full salad bar, as well as main courses including pulled pork, ribs, chicken, a vegetarian dish, starches and vegetables, as well as a full dessert bar and drinks. And don't miss our favorite, peanut butter pie. It's sugar-free, but it doesn't taste like it.
And it makes sense because people bring their huge, hungry Christian families to this thing, and then they go see the play. And so it makes sense that they would have a buffet.
Back at the Passion Play, actually another aspect of the Passion Play. I'm joined once again by Kent. We're at the buffet now. Who knew they even have that here? Tell us a little bit about it, Kent.
Well, everybody knows about our Bible Museum and Arts Museum. You can have a full day experience here at the Holy Land, as well as the backstage tour. And in between that, between having the full day experience and the play, you can eat at our wonderful Great Hall Buffet. My wife and I we actually really enjoy the buffet. Her favorite is the macaroni, but we have a lot to eat. Great food. It's really home-style cooking. Our chef here was trained in the culinary arts in a school in Louisiana, and he makes some great dishes, as well as we have a fabulous dessert bar, great home-style cooking with macaroni and cheese. You have a lot of different types of meats, and you have a vegetable bar, dessert bar, but my favorite type of meat here at the play that we have is the ribs. I love the ribs. Absolutely, you have to try the ribs.
Really?
And you like the chicken,
My
apparently.
favorite's the chicken.
My wife does too. The chicken is good. Stuff for kids to eat. Stuff for adults
really
to
is.
eat. Lots of different types of dessert. Dessert, everything from cobblers. I mean, it's that great home-style cooking. But my personal favorite has to be the peanut butter pie.
Oh, I love peanut butter
have
pie.
to try it. It's sugar-free, so it feels sinful to eat it. It's so good, but it's not going to add any more to the calories.
And I just thought it was funny. And this guy that plays Joseph and also Jesus, at some point he played him. He was there, and I was actually starstruck when I saw him, and I ran off. The building was cute. It had like pictures of Jesus everywhere and like dioramas that this lady had made. They had like normal food. They had like mashed potatoes, ham, turkey, ribs, mac and cheese. It was all very mid to me, but I am a picky eater. But yeah, it was all right. So yeah, that's the buffet. And I asked James what he said, and he said that it was better than Golden Corral, but not as good as Country Kitchen. Is his review of the Holy Land buffet. After dinner, James and I picked our seats for the Passion Play in the back, out of the way, and close to the exit, just as God intended. And at this point, if you are wondering what is a Passion Play, well, it's a live-action performance that recreates the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. I had always wanted to see one. I love live performances, and I'm a fundy anthropologist, so it was kind of a no-brainer that I went. I also, did some research before we went, and I found out that this place was founded by a literal white supremacist and straight-up Nazi. It's right here on Wikipedia. Gerald Lyman Kenneth Smith was born February 27th, 1898. He was an American clergyman, politician, and organizer known for his populist and far-right demagoguery. A leader of the populist Share Our Wealth movement during the Great Depression, afterward he became known for far-right causes, including the Christian Nationalist Crusade, which he founded in 1942. He founded the America First Party in 1943 and was its 1944 presidential candidate, winning fewer than 1,800 votes. He was a preeminent anti-Semite and a white supremacist, and he and his wife are both buried there. Right next to the statue is a little mausoleum, and it has him and his wife, and it plays music. They also there have a section of the Berlin Wall, and no, I'm not kidding, they have some really random shit there. The whole thing is performed by real people, but they lip sync the whole thing. There's a pre-recorded track with pre-recorded music. It's very TikTok friendly. There was also real doves that flew around, and one of them I think was like rebelling from their training because it escaped into the trees, and I was paying attention to it. Before the play started, the guy in charge came out, and he was given a speech and said a prayer, and he said, "There is no one people group that is responsible for Christ's death. We're all responsible for his death." When I heard that, I went, what does that mean? And then as we were driving home, I was talking to James about it, and I was like, I just can't put my finger on it. Like, it just seemed really anti-Semitic, like the whole play. I could just, I was like, how can I incorporate that into the script for this episode? He's like, yeah, they were formed to be like that. They're all anti-Jewish. Hitler loved them. He's like, yeah, this is common knowledge. And it blew my fucking mind. I had no idea. So then, of course, once I got bars of internet back, I had to Google this because we were in the fucking mountains. And turns out he's right. Passion plays originated in the Middle Ages in Christian Europe as a way to celebrate and teach the story of the last days of Jesus' life, and from the beginning embodied the anti-Judaism derived from the depiction of the Jewish religious authorities in the Holy Week gospel readings. Passion plays regularly triggered anti-Jewish violence by repeatedly affirming in the minds of Christians and others who viewed passion plays the powerful spectacle that Jews are devilish, manipulative, legalistic, and bloodthirsty Christ killers. Adolf Hitler, no lover of Christianity, who viewed the play in 1930 and in 1934 at its 300th anniversary, instrumentalized it as a tool of anti-Semitism. Never has the menace of Jewry been so convincingly portrayed, he said. Dangerously, Oberammergau resumed its play after the Holocaust as if nothing had happened. It remained unaffected by the evolution of Christian attitudes regarding Jews. Some of Oberammergau's most venomous portrayals of Jews remained as late as the 1980s. In 1980, Rabbi Mark Tannenbaum, the American Jewish Committee's Director of Interreligious Affairs, labeled Oberammergau the international capital of religious antisemitism. His successor, Rabbi A. James Rudin, condemned the 350th anniversary edition in 1984 as unmistakably anti-Semitic. So apparently that play changed a few things, and they've been working with rabbis to try and make it less offensive, but, you know, is that enough? At least according to the documentary, The Gospel of Eureka, that I was talking about earlier, they said that this Passion Play, the Ozarks one, has gone out of their way to remove offensive things that the owner said, to change some of the speeches and other things a part of the play to make it less offensive, but I don't even know if that's possible. Christ of the Ozarks, they are in lots of debt, and they might closed down eventually. It was reported in December 2012 that the play would not go on for a 2013 season due to low attendance and financial problems. But in January 2013, it was announced that funds raised by a gospel radio ministry from Oklahoma would pay the interest on the mortgage to allow the show to open for the next season. A reduction in the number of performances each season also alleviated some financial problems. And they even talked about this debt before the play. The guy comes out and he's talking about how they were $2 million in debt, and they got it down to $2,900, and he not just passed around an offering plate, he literally walked up the steps and was going through the audience looking for people who had cash. I'm sure that some people are getting paid, like they just have to be. A lot of it is volunteer labor. The guy was talking about, he goes, oh, even if you're retired, you can bring your trailer on up here and I'll put you to work. He said, God's not done with you. You can still help. And it made me wonder, like, oh, I guess all the kids are probably volunteer too. And it's fun for them, maybe. Probably also traumatic because Jesus does get whipped, but they show Judas hanging himself and they blow off a little firework when he does it and it shows up in the trees. And that traumatized me, so I can only imagine how children feel. All in all, the actual play was good, you know, in the non-problematic parts. They were acting their little Christoses out there on stage, and they did encourage everybody to film and share it. They said you could share it anywhere, so I was like, well, I'm gonna make a YouTube video. Even before the play started, we were like, okay, when is it appropriate for us to leave? And we were like, well, I at least want to see him come out of the tomb. So we waited until he was resurrected on the third day, and then we snuck out of there. And as we were leaving, James makes eye contact with this other dad, and they both have this face like, I know I'm going to hell for this, but I need to get out of here before the parking lot fills up. So, the Great Passion Play, Old Jesus, as James calls the statue, and the rest of the complex were certainly interesting for a person of my particular nature, and I find myself, at least in some ways, highly impressed by the whole operation. The attractions were quaint but engaging, the gift shops enticing yet imposing, and the mostly volunteer staff demonstrated an incredible degree of enthusiasm and pride for the work in which they were doing. It was, for James and I at least, a generally pleasant experience that culminated in a rather dazzling stage production that lasted almost 2 hours. Remote location and niche subject matter aside, it's really no wonder that this place is thriving on a continuous stream of visitors, both believers and non-believers alike. They can dress it up all they want in edits and disclaimers. This play's roots still run directly into a particularly vicious brand of anti-Jewish ideology. These plays have only had one purpose throughout their entire history: to denigrate Jewish populations and provide a backdrop of false justification for their persecution. Anyone who views them, and especially anyone who performs them, should be aware of the history before going in. And truthfully, I think it is reasonable to ask whether they should be performed at all, especially in a time of such hate and conspiracy in our modern world. And now more than ever, we need to find ways to rid our societies of these horrible, awful, dangerous ideologies. And yet, instead of that, this particular attraction has built up a wall of family-friendly fun around this old, bigoted Christian institution. The pleasant atmosphere and preemptive apologetics are just a smokescreen designed to insist that the Passion Play is nothing more than a wholesome tribute to the life and sacrifice of Jesus Christ. But there is far too much history that one must ignore for that to be true. So in the end, no matter how welcome I personally felt there, I simply cannot separate the experience from the victimization of others that I know that it embodies. I would encourage all of you to be aware of the history of the Passion Play and the giant T-pose Jesus lurking up in the Ozark Mountains. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. I certainly had fun filming it because I got to go to Arkansas. We also went to the Listening Forest, which is a really cool interactive art exhibit that was in Bentonville. I highly recommend that. It was incredible. We also saw an illusionist named Riza. And he may be an illusionist, but he made me feel magic. It was amazing. I loved him. I thought it was going to be cringe, but it actually blew my balls off. If you ever get the chance to see him, do. I played mini golf for the first time since I was a child, and it was super fun. It was pirate themed. We didn't have time to do other ones, because I just wanted to get back, because we were there for like 4 days, and we came back yesterday, and there just wasn't time. We were supposed to go to Silver Dollar City, and when we drove up to the driving line, just the exit off the highway to get there, it was way too busy, and we were like, no, this is not going to be enjoyable. Yeah, I had such a fun time. I just am so grateful that I get to do this because of you guys. Like, if I didn't have all 300,000 of my little babies, my Genonites, I wouldn't be able to do this. I would be at Crumble. So, thank you all so much. And if you'd like to support me financially, which feel free to not do that, I will be fine. Keep your money. But if you want to, if you insist, you can join my Patreon. I also have memberships on YouTube, and both of those will get you exclusive videos, just little fun behind the scenes things, streams, which we are streaming again this Sunday, and I will post about it on Instagram soon. I also have merch, which several of them are fundraisers. Yeah, follow me on social media. I love you all very, very much, more than you could ever know, and I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.
Father, into your hands I entrust